we don't take lightly or take for granted the fact that we are making tools that people are going to use to defend their lives and to defend the freedoms that we all know and love.
Sure.
And it sounds like a kind of a cliche tall order, but it is something that we really take seriously. And when we set out to do all this, like I started with, we set out to build the gun that we wanted. But we knew that in doing that, there was going to come a time very early in the process where we were going to have to figure out, well, what's the gun that everybody else wants, right? Because if you try to develop this in this echo chamber or this microcosm, right. You might build the best thing in the world, but if there isn't enough people that want the same thing, then you're not going to have a business behind it.
Well, here we are, back here again, right? Over the barrel. First Friday of the month, and it's Aloha Friday. I got my new retro rifle shirt on that I just got. I guess owls do need night vision devices, so that's the reason why they did the shirt the way they do. Stay tuned. Rainier's going to have its own Hawaiian shirt soon, so you'll be able to rep your brand that you love the most, and even look cool on Friday. So Aloha Friday, let's talk about it. Getting your brain and you're ready for the weekend, right? So get that Aloha feeling before you start the weekend so we can get cracking. So, man, I got some buddies here. I just met some of them. I met one of them a couple years ago at SHOT Show, and I just met this gentleman today. And I got a couple guys here from OA Defense, okay? They come out with a great version of a 1911 double stack pistol. And we're gonna talk a little bit about the company. We're gonna find out who these dudes are. And then we're gonna, I don't know where the conversation's gonna go from there, but it'll be fun. So do me a favor, introduce yourself.
Sure. My name's Dave Wollman. I am the VP of Brand Strategy for OA Defense. And I was one of the original co-founders of the company, kind of helped play a role in the development of the pistol platform. We can get into my background and stuff in a little bit, but
yeah.
You want to introduce yourself, John?
Yeah, my name is Johnny Moffit. I'm a brand ambassador and sponsored shooter for OA Defense. Deal a little bit with the R&D and testing, and 20-year veteran of U.S. Army Special Operations.
20 years.
20 years.
Yeah, a long time.
It's about to come to an end.
Good for you.
Officially.
Hey, that retirement life is a good deal. I'm in the check of the month club.
Yeah.
Come on, keep coming. Keep bringing it on. I love it.
Wait.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, sir.
And I remember meeting you a couple years ago, just walking into your booth saying, what is this and why? How come I don't know about it?
Yeah.
And we met and talked, and then here we are. Our relationship was built out of that, and then now you're on Over the Barrel. So tell me a little bit about your background and how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah. So I've spent my entire life around firearms. I've been an avid enthusiast my whole life. Had the fortunate opportunity to grow up. My family had a little farm property up in Pennsylvania, so ever since I was 5, 6 years old, grew up with a gun in my hand, hunting, shooting, got into target shooting, went through scouts as a kid, did some competitive, 22 and rimfire shooting, and then, got busy with school and sports and everything else, and kind of moved away from it for a little bit, but then college era time, got back into it real heavy, got into competition shooting, broke the glass there with getting into USPSA, and then ultimately into 3-gun, which is what I spend most of my time doing these days.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, again, better part of 10, 15 years, been shooting competitively pretty regularly. So, I've always had a close-knit group of, gun guy friends, if you will. And so, when people say, oh, well, who are you? What is your background? That's really, I'm nothing special. I'm your average gun guy who was fortunate enough to get into the firearms industry about a decade ago.
That depends on who you ask. I mean, if you ask some other people in this world, you're something real special.
Maybe. That's for them to decide, right? But my mom tells me that anyway.
That's her job.
But so I got in the firearms industry about 10 years ago. Worked for a couple different manufacturers. Have had a couple of other smaller businesses myself. But finally got merged together with the rest of the team that has built OA Defense in the 2311, going about two years ago now. So fall of 2021, we kind of came together and realized through just some conversation and kind of sitting around, shooting the crap, there was a gap in the market. There was a gun that we were all looking for that at that point didn't exist.
Sure.
And that was something that bridged that gap between your custom high-end striker guns and your really high-performance hammer guns. And there really wasn't anything that kind of married the two, where you had the reliability and durability of those duty pistols with the performance, straight pull, short trigger of a high-end 1911,
Yep.
And that build quality, right? There was that no middle ground. So we said, what can we do about this? Do we have the ability? Do we have the resources to maybe bring something like that into the world?
Yeah.
And we were fortunate enough to get paired up with a phenomenal investor who believed in the concept and believed in the project and was willing to kind of put it all on the line and support us through a lot of ups and downs, honestly, over a year and a half of development, and finally bringing the prototypes and the concepts to SHOT Show 2023, which is where you and I met, and then ultimately seeing that through to bringing a concept into a production unit and standing up an entire manufacturing company.
So wait a minute, did you just say 18 months?
I did. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
So you
it
could have had
was-
2 babies, sort of. and this baby comes out in 18 months.
Yeah.
That's an engineering miracle.
It is. We didn't.
Because you can squint your eyes and see some similarities to other things in the market,
Yeah.
but when you really dive into this gun, it's completely different than most things that you find on the market.
It is. It's a very unique platform, and there are a few pieces on that gun that are cross-compatible with other guns that are out there, but for the most part, yeah, it's a 60-odd component machine that we had to engineer every piece of, and we knew it was going to be a Herculean effort when we set out to do it, to try to meet that timeline. But we knew if we wanted to hit this opportunity in the market that we had to do it quickly, right? And there were a lot of challenges in that time frame. It's amazing when we look back at it that it was only 18 months because it felt like 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a
Nothing ever
big
happens
lift
fast
and
enough.
and a lot of effort by a lot of people. Yeah.
Well, kind of went off topic. That's okay. Johnny, tell me who you are, man, and how you got to where you're at today.
So I grew up in a small town in northeast Arkansas. Kind of the same kind of background growing up, hunting, fishing, outside the whole time.
Yep.
Did a little stint in college playing some baseball, and then discovered that the Army was going to be my career path. So joined the military. Like I said, spent 20 years in the special operations community.
Yep.
And about a little over 10 years ago, I kind of discovered competitive shooting. I've always loved shooting guns. I've always been a gun guy, kind of
Yep.
been a gun nerd. But discovered competitive shooting, started shooting, and kind of just started right off in 3-gun. That kind of became a passion, and then through that, also instructing. So not only in the military, but outside. So I do that a little bit as well now, and just carbine marksmanship, pistol marksmanship, 2-gun. I did a little bit of long-range stuff from some of my experiences that I had in the military and some of the jobs that I did, so I teach a little bit of that. But when I had talked to some guys that have some relationships with OA Defense and met Dave a little over a year ago at a fundraising event, charity event, and I got a chance to put my hands on the OA 2311. And when I did, I shot it and basically looked at Dave and said, I no longer shoot for who I used to shoot for, I shoot for y'all now.
That's about how it went. Yeah.
I can see that because you can get a visceral reaction to having that handgun in your hand. It fits like no other, what I like to call slab-sided gun. It's very ergonomic for what, it doesn't, it looks ergonomic. And then when you get it in your hand, it fits like, the best baseball glove you ever had, or the, I don't know, what else? Would you like the best,
Comfortable pair of shoes.
the best hand grips on my motorcycle,
Yeah.
right? Just it fits your hand perfectly, or a knife handle. You know what like. I've bought knives that were 10 times more expensive than the one that I carried because the one I carried fit my hand, right? And then I ended up put them things in a drawer, and one of my grandkids is going to end up with them, I guess.
Sometimes when you know. Yeah, you just have to feel thing.
You're in special operations, and then you start this shooting thing. Let's talk a little bit about that. Do you find that you are taking your skills from the green side into civilian shooting, or are they going back and forth? Some of the skills and techniques that you're learning while trying to shoot fast and accurately in a game, will that transition back to what you do on the battlefield?
I think they both translate to a point across the board both ways. So when I was young in my military career, I was a decent shooter. I was one of the better shooters within the unit that I was in at the time. Actually, it was me and a teammate of mine. We constantly competed back and forth for who was going to be number one. And he's actually the one that introduced me to competitive shooting to begin with.
Yep.
And I signed up for my first 3-gun competition, and I said, man, I'm getting ready to go just smoke everybody, right? I'm a barrel-chested freedom fighter. I've been shooting for forever. I'm gonna go crush this entire field of competitors, and I got embarrassed.
Sure.
So it was
Because of all the gameisms, right?
right. It was a rough first outing, and I actually had a friend of mine that was shooting with us in that squad that day, and he goes, "Hey, stop doing CQB on a flat range, man." I was like, "Yeah, that's a good point." So, but what I did learn was that foundational base that I got from the military helped create and expand my skill set as far as competitive shooting, but vice versa, the speed and movement that I use in competitive shooting helped me to be a better combat marksman as well.
I'll be dang.
So
That's an interesting aspect and perspective. Really cool. Rock and roll. So you fell in love with this pistol first time you had it in your hands, and you just had to have one, right?
absolutely.
Oh, cool.
I think I had one 3 days later.
Yeah, you did.
So, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It was within the same week. Yeah.
I'll be dang.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you shot a ton of competitions now with this gun?
I have. I've been shooting matches with it for about a year.
Okay.
And
Mostly East Coast based?
mostly. I've shot a couple out west, PCSL matches in
Okay.
Vegas. I shot PCSL Nationals last year. That was a new experience. Well, it's also a new
They're trying to figure it out.
organization, right?
Yeah, we have a big match on Sunday down here,
Yeah.
the first major.
But it was it's fun for sure. It's just different.
I think that league, if I'm not mistaken, will lend itself to greater expansion based on the shotgun not being in the mix. Because, man, basically shotgun marksmanship is, I mean, you point it at whatever it is and you squeeze the trigger.
Right.
As long as you don't yank the trigger hard, you're going to hit whatever that you're aiming at. The game is what? The loading it.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's with any combat shotgun, is keeping it fed. So would
Or
you
just
take
shoot
that?
open.
What's that?
Yeah,
Or
or
just
just shoot
shoot
open.
open.
It's a magazine.
You got like the longest mag. Right, a belt-fed shotgun would be perfect.
Absolutely.
Man, that's a dream of mine.
Idea. Yeah.
That'd be great. It looked like that Soviet grenade launcher. That'd be crazy. But anyway, be that as it may, I think that's a unique perspective that you bring. I know my own personal. So I'm almost 20 years removed from the military in a combat situation. So every day I'm not there. You know, I get a little more rusty. So what I have to do is I have to two things. I have to remain relevant, right? And I have to remain lethal because my family and the people around me depend on that.
Absolutely.
And so I have to keep the wheels greased. And some of that is shooting scenarios we develop here. Some of it's shooting pistol and rifle drills that are very, very popular, whether it be Kyle Lamb's drills or Larry Vickers drills or some are the bear drills. I really love that stuff. But nothing can prepare you for the actual adrenaline dump any better than competition, because it's you against the buzzer, right? And the only way that you can, the only thing that you can provide yourself now is shooting against a buzzer, whether it's on a flat range with doing a drill, or whether you're shooting a two-gun somewhere and you're shooting against a bunch of dudes that are going to whip your ass if you're not careful. Right. So I dig it, man. So what's your favorite carry gun?
I would have to say the OA Defense Compact Pro 2011.
Yeah. And that's the one that's ported, correct?
It is.
Wow. That's the one I fell in love with just now. Man, I'm going to shoot it tomorrow, the demo.
Yeah, we'll get you on it.
Man,
As of
that'd be
right
great.
now, it's my
Yeah.
it's my favorite.
And do you find that as an all-season gun?
I do.
Okay. I find myself changing guns per season. I go to a full-size gun in the wintertime because I have an overgarment on anyway. Mm-hmm. And then I scale down the gun during the summertime because of obvious reasons. And my motorcycle gun's are completely like a third gun. That's
It's
weird.
a totally different ballgame, yeah.
So, but that's because I have the luxury. If I only had one gun, it would be my lightweight Commander 9mm, right? But I'm an old guy, hence the white beard. But
Well, with a motorcycle, you got to have your carry gun and then your saddlebag gun. So
that's right. Well, I have a saddlebag gun, but I don't.
That's a different
I'm
podcast.
trying to figure out how to mount a TAC 14 on my fairing of my
Handlebars.
motorcycles.
There you go. A little
Yeah.
E-trigger, so you don't have to pick up the
Dude,
handlebars.
could you imagine what a deterrent that would be? You pull up somewhere and somebody's like, "Hey, I want to see." No, you don't.
Anybody's going to move out of the way of the left lane
You
for
got to talk out of that, talk to that big old hole in the end of that barrel. It's just, that's another one. It feels, I bet it feels like when a sword in your hand, that's what it feels like to me when I pull that TAC 13 out. It's nuts. I can't believe I don't have one yet, but I'm trying to get my friends at SDS to build me one off their Mac chassis.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but the recoil thing is the problem. Why is this company important to you?
So, for me, number one, it's a 100% American-made product.
Yep.
Number two, it's the people that surround the product, right? So all of the staff, everybody that works for OA Defense, that I've had the pleasure of meeting in my short time being a brand ambassador and shooter for the company, like it truly is a family. It's one big happy family.
Okay.
And these guys, you know, I remember a conversation I had with you actually. I called Dave and I said, hey, we had an event. I called Dave and I said, hey, I've got a little AAR that I want to give you after the event, right? Just things that I saw from the outside kind of looking in. He goes, what do you mean outside? I was like, well, you know, I'm just like the ambassador guy. I'm not. He goes, no, man, like it's a family. You're a part of it.
I love it.
And then the other thing is the attention to detail that the company has. So, you know, anytime that, on the rare occasion that there might be an issue or through testing we find whatever it may be, the attention to detail, and I'll use this as an example. One of the early models of the pistol, I put just shy of 18,000 rounds through in a very short amount of time.
Wow.
Most of that ammunition was plus P+, so it was pretty hot, dirty, nasty.
So you
ammo.
banged up the gun pretty good, huh?
Banged up the gun pretty good. I ended up breaking it. Now, what percentage of the population is going to shoot 18,000 rounds through pistols? Not very many. Like
No.
I would venture to say probably, less than 1%.
Easily. Yep.
So, but the key thing was, it's like when I called Dave to talk to him about it, he was like, "Hey man, yep, we're already fixing it. It's going to be fixed." And not even a week later, I received a replacement pistol. And now that pistol has about 14,000 rounds through it.
So you did an inline change based on feedback, and it went right out to the consumer.
Yeah. In that case, in that example,
Prosumer, basically.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough that we had actually identified it before that had actually even happened.
Yeah.
But we wanted to still find out what was that critical failure point going to be, and it was just a matter of some tiny little dimensional tweaks inside of the frame to adjust where some of the impact force was being received by the frame under cycling. And so again, just some small tweaks here and there to dial it in. We had actually already made the changes. We were running the new frames when I got the phone call. And so it was kind of serendipitous in that way. And we've had a lot of kind of providential, divine intervention moments in the development history of this whole thing. But yeah, absolutely. And it's not an isolated incident. If we hear any kind of feedback, the first thing that we're going to do is figure out what happened, why did it happen, and how do we make sure it doesn't happen ever again.
Sure.
We are not the kind of people to sit back and go, well, it's good enough, so that's fine, right? There's no such thing as good enough. We're constantly chasing, those improvements incrementally.
I think the price point this gun's at, it's riding in the middle of that double stack 1911 frame there. But the consumer, not necessarily the prosumer, because you understand what quality is, and nice things cost money, right?
Right.
But the consumer itself will say, it better be perfect.
Right.
Right. So you guys embodied that. What I liked about when I met you guys is. I liked how enthusiastic you guys were about your product, how everyone wanted to talk to you about it, right? And this was like the third or fourth day of a SHOT Show, so you're maxed out already. Your brain's fried, everything's done, and yet you were still so very amped up about it. Not only were you amped up about that, you're like, hey, come over and see the Largo guns.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this guy, I want one he's on.
Yeah.
So,
Lack of sleep is what we were on at that point, but yeah.
I think the day I met you, I got married. That very day. Not to you.
Right. To the idea, right? Yeah.
Thank goodness. Well, I don't know.
Hey, I got a ring on now. But.
Yeah, me too. So I was very lucky to marry the love of my life that very day. Yeah. So I was like, we need to hurry this up so I can go get my tux on to get married.
Amen.
So he touched on it. Actually, he explained it pretty well, but the people we have in this room to talk to us about the over-the-barrel stuff is not an accident.
Sure.
If we don't believe in your brand or your company's culture and character, we just don't want you on the show, okay? And so, not saying it like, wow, you made it, right? That's pretty damn arrogant.
Yeah, sure.
But we'd like to surround ourselves with the same kind of character and company culture that we try to foster here.
Sure.
And that's always a moving target, depending on how many people you got in the door. The guy who founded our company, John Wong, says, "Hey, we hire for character, and we can teach competence."
That is a principle that we believe very deeply in.
Yeah.
And integrity trumps all for us. And it's a character thing. And you can usually figure that out pretty quickly, early on in a conversation. Is who I'm talking to somebody who kind of shares those beliefs? And I don't mean political beliefs or religious beliefs per se, right? But is this a person of integrity? Is this somebody who's going to, when the rubber hits the road, put their money where their mouth is, and be a good person and do the right things for the right reasons? Yeah.
Do what you say, right? Mm-hmm. Do what you say you're going to do. That's pretty crazy in today's society, and it's not one of those things that happens in the firearms world. Sometimes you find some people that are like, they have the good enough attitude, or the customer service complaint comes in, they're like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. And they try to talk you into understanding how they see your problem. Well, like, bro, I got it right in front of me. This pin won't fit.
Right.
And
this is math. Yeah.
It's not. Sometimes we're successful with that, and sometimes we're not.
Sure.
So like I said, I was really impressed with the company. I was really happy that the guns came out and were as successful as they were right off the bat. And the inline change to design as the months go on, that's super impressive. Now, in my background, I was with a sewn nylon company called Tactical Tailor in Gray Ghost Gear, and we had a second Ranger bat right there outside the gate. And so we would have Rangers come in and throw something on the table and say, "This sucks." I'm like, "Well, why does it suck?" And they would tell us why it sucks. And the next iteration of that product that came out had all those changes on board.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes we got caught up in the what you ought to do's. Like, what you ought to do is this. I'm like, what you ought to do is buy a damn molding machine and try to figure that out. But for the most part, we had very good and very constructive criticism that let us make a rugged product that special operators used, and the U.S. Marine Corps used wholesale. We made 7 or 8 innocent products specifically for the Marine Corps ground pounder, and I'm pretty proud of all that. So even though I wasn't, I went to combat, came back, retired, but I feel like every box that went out, I was helping a warfighter get the job done.
Yeah.
And that worked out great for me. So once again, a company that has integrity enough to say, we aren't the best thing on the planet. We can figure out what the customer wants and then make an inline change so it's better, right? And make them more lethal, more survivable on the battlefield.
Right, and you touched on something that is critical to us as well, which is, we don't take lightly or take for granted the fact that we are making tools that people are going to use to defend their lives and to defend the freedoms that we all know and love.
Sure.
And it sounds like a kind of a cliche tall order, but it is something that we really take seriously. And when we set out to do all this, like I started with, we set out to build the gun that we wanted. But we knew that in doing that, there was going to come a time very early in the process where we were going to have to figure out, well, what's the gun that everybody else wants, right? Because if you try to develop this in this echo chamber or this microcosm,
right.
You might build the best thing in the world, but if there isn't enough people that want the same thing, then you're not going to have a business behind it. And so, we really do put the needs of the customer ahead of just personal preference, and realizing that when you do that, like to your point, you're going to get a lot of the well you oughtas, and kind of taking that and balancing all of them and figuring out where do you draw the line between a well you oughta and a yeah we oughta.
Yeah.
And then figuring out how do we implement that into future iterations, future models, current production in some cases. So it's a challenge that we deal with every day, but it's something that we lean into. Yeah, we don't stray away from that.
One of the questions I normally ask the people sitting in these chairs is name a time where this product saved someone's life. And I think you have such a new background in this industry that you don't have a lot of that.
Right.
But maybe you save some people's lives by the fact that they don't look like food because they're carrying a piece of machinery that will allow them to look less like a victim to someone who's trying to find out whether they are or not.
It's a very valid point.
So I think that even by doing that, the headcount will come over time.
Right.
Now, is that the where all be all? No, I mean, because Glock's probably got tons of good guys and bad guys on that count.
Sure.
But I find that guns when they're of that price, the fact that the chances of them being in a bad guy's hands is low.
Yeah,
right?
there's definitely an aspect of that. Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you, favorite gun, favorite carry gun.
Favorite carry gun. Well, so obviously I'm a bit skewed, and so I carry the same thing Johnny does.
Okay.
And so as of right now, for the last probably 6-7 months now, my carry gun has been the OA Compact Pro. Now I'm a little bit of a bigger guy. I'm 6'2", so I carry it with the Plus kit installed. So that's the full size mag well for the 17 round configuration.
Okay.
But to your point, different weather changes, seasonal stuff. The nice thing about it, without getting sales pitchy, right, is that we can change the mag well on it. It is modular. So in the summer months, or if I don't have a larger cover garment on, I can just swap back to the compact mag well. Turns into a 15 round grip, and it becomes a lot more concealable at that point. So having that flexibility makes that a really nice platform. Prior to that, that notwithstanding, probably the SIG P365. I had a custom built one. It was kind of a precursor to the macro before they came out with the macro. So put it in an Icarus frame.
Yeah.
Put a comp on the front of it. So it was a pretty sweet little blaster. I still have it. Still in the rotation every once in a while. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. What did you carry before you carried the one you have now?
So I was a big Glock guy before.
Sure.
And that was mostly because of
What was in your arm?
military, right? And I was like, well, if I'm gonna carry it, I might as well carry what I use at work, what I use every day. Then I got into the 2011 world, pretty hardcore for a while. So I carried I actually carried a C2 for a while.
Yep.
And then just before I started carrying the Compact Pro, I was carrying a Compact Carry 320. I like carrying a more of a full-size frame gun.
Yep.
I've never been. I had a 365. I would carry it every once in a while, but that was mostly for going to the gym and stuff like that.
Sure.
When I was in shorts and
Your
a t-shirt.
sweatpants gun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. My sweatpants gun. So I'm more of a full-size frame gun kind of person.
The Grey Ghost Precision 365 slide.
Oh yeah.
It's the SPG slide, sweatpants gun slide. So I was the ding dong that had a naming conventions job. They're like, "What are you gonna name this?" I'm like,
Perfect.
I'd carry it in sweatpants, so it's sweatpants gun.
I love that.
Our patrol rifle was the STP-R, the stopper. Well, Super Trooper Patrol Rifle is what that acronym stands for, and no one knows that. And then they all
do
say,
now.
"Anybody got a stopper?" And I would just laugh and laugh. I'm like, "Yeah, man, those guys in those patrol cars want a stopper, for sure." So the 365. So you kind of bring some SIG DNA with you to these guns, don't you?
Yeah, a little bit, and actually on the competition side of the house, and we touched on it a little bit. The previous company I was involved with, a company by the name of 9X19, and we did aftermarket upgraded slides, barrels, triggers, parts kits for Glock and SIG platforms. And so I've never been much of a Glock guy myself. They're great pistols, but the grip angle just was never conducive or natural for me.
Are you front sight tall or front sight low with the Glock?
Typically front sight high.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was always having to come out and then bring that down. Right.
Yeah.
So
anybody that shot a 1911 style gun is that way. It seems like.
yeah. So I cut my teeth on Walthers actually when I started getting into competition shooting. So my first pistol that I ever bought was a Walther P99 AS.
Oh wow.
Still have it to this day. But so anyway, so I was used to a slightly more upright grip angle. And so when we started doing all the different product development stuff for 9X, I wasn't going to go full circle and switch over to the Glock world. And so I started building custom 320s, and ran those for quite a while in competition. And so again, my background, I kind of brought a lot of SIG shooting experience on the 320 and 365 platforms. And actually, it's ironically enough, the 2311 does have 320 parts and 365 parts in the gun. So there is a little bit of that DNA behind it. Yeah.
I wasn't aware that anything but the magazine was a SIG product.
So the mag releases, we actually get those straight from SIG. That's a SIG mag release for the 320,
Very
and
cool.
the extractor, the external extractor that we use is a 365 extractor.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
so it makes it nice too. I mean, the parts availability for it, right? Anytime you get into a new platform, people go, "Oh, am I going to be able to get parts for it?" Well, yes, we have them all, of course. But if for any reason we're ever short on something, there are some parts in that gun that you can just get off the shelf from a lot of other retailers. Yeah.
When you're in competitions and you show up with this gun, do people look at it and say, what in the world's that?
A lot of times, especially early on. Now it's becoming, not that it's becoming more prevalent in the shooting communities. But yeah, initially it was, guys would look at it, I'd catch people staring at my holster and.
Well, your howitzer holster.
Yeah. I'm like, I just kind of give them a head nod. I was like, just ask, what is that?
Ask the question. Yeah.
And then I usually, what I like to do is I would carry a primary and a backup, and we would go to, like, if they had a 0 range at that particular match or whatever, like, hey man, you want to shoot one? Sure, let's go shoot it. And so far everybody's pretty much like what they see. So
There's not much to dislike. You'd have to try real hard. You'd have to be one of those disgruntled people that doesn't like a bag of money. Like, now I got to go to the bank with this bag of money.
It's not the right shade of green. Yeah.
So man, it's pretty interesting. So who founded the company?
So originally there were 4 partners involved in the project.
Yep.
It was myself, a guy by the name of Todd. He was kind of the engineering mind behind a lot of this. There was another gentleman named Jonathan, and our investor Keith. And so the 4 of us kind of put this whole thing together. We ended up parting ways with one of the partners kind of early on in the process, just kind of different mindsets that wanted to go different directions with things. But yeah, so primarily for the last better part of a year and a half now, it's been the 3 of us, the 3 partners. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So, 3 means you can have 2 disagree and one's got to be a tiebreaker, right?
Yeah, typically speaking, there is a bit of that. For the most part, though, what's nice is we all kind of have our separate silos and our separate backgrounds and skill sets. So we all kind of know, what our lane is in that regard. And so there's lots of overlap. As with any startup and smaller company, you're wearing a lot of hats at any given time. But for the most part, we kind of have our lines in the sand of who's responsible for what, and typically we will defer to whoever is the expert in that part of the process on those decisions. So.
Right. Self-defense philosophy. Who's responsible for your personal safety?
Oh, well, that's easy. I am.
Okay.
They call it self-defense for a reason, but I think to a large extent that extends beyond just yourself.
Okay.
I think if you are responsible for yourself, but if you're going to take that responsibility and you're going to make that commitment, it also gives you a level of responsibility to be responsible for those around you and accountable to those around you. So
accountable.
Accountable, exactly.
Yep.
Your family, your friends, your community, and those who are around you. So, not to digress or rabbit hole, but it's an interesting topic that I find myself talking about a lot with friends and family outside of the shooting community, right? Everybody in the community, in the industry, we all kind of share a mindset and a philosophy on that. But everybody goes, I'm thinking of buying my first gun, or I'm thinking of starting to carry a gun, right? And there's a conversation to be had there where there's a lot more to it than just I'm just going to go buy a gun and stick it in my waistband. And I think a lot of people have that misconception, but there is absolutely a level of accountability and responsibility that if you're going to be an armed citizen and take accountability and responsibility for yourself and those around you, you have a responsibility to train and to practice and to make sure that in whatever situation you may find yourself in, you're going to be an asset and not a liability in that circumstance. So it's something that I take seriously and that I ask all of my guys to take seriously as well.
Johnny, do you find, and the same question I'm going to ask you, do you find, with a slightly different take, do you find yourself, because you're responsible for a team, right? You're responsible for the safety of a team. Do you find yourself transposing that onto your self-defense outside the base walls? Meaning that, do you find yourself trying to would you find yourself force projecting into a larger area than you would be if you were just like dudes like us?
I would say, yeah, to an extent. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm one of those guys where, yeah, I mean, everybody that's with me, I'm one of those people too. Every place that I walk in, it's a constant assessment, right?
Right.
And that's just from which a lot of us are, right? Not only military guys, but just guys that are in the firearms industry in general, right?
Yep.
And just constantly making an assessment, constantly looking at, how many exits do I have in this place? What kind of people are coming in this place? My wife.
Why's that guy got his hand in his pockets?
Right. My wife makes fun of me every time we go out to eat somewhere, and the waitress or the waiter or the host or hostess kind of escorts her to her chair, and then she immediately looks at him. She goes, "I can't sit on this side of the table." And they're like, "Oh, is something wrong?" And she's like, "No, it's not me. It's him. he can't see the exits. He has to sit there. So
Yeah, and it sounds like your wife understands what's going to, if you did end up sitting there, you'd be so stinking uncomfortable that
Right.
you wouldn't enjoy yourself.
Right.
So you have a good mate there. That's good
do,
news.
yeah.
Now, my mate has something else, and she's got two things she's got to worry about. That, where in the building I am, and the fact that I'm left-handed, so she's got to sit to my right because I'll hit her with my elbow all the time. So she don't like that at all. So she's got two problems to deal with. So, and speaking of being left-handed, you guys fixed that with this gun.
Yeah, you're kind of the prime candidate for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what made me excited from the beginning.
Yeah, they are wrong-handed shooter friendly.
So back to the self-defense thing, I find myself asking sometimes out loud. Like if I go to a place where I can't carry a firearm, I ask myself, or the person who's telling me I can't carry a firearm, I'm like, well, who's responsible for my personal safety at this point? Is it you? Do you have like I went to a concert not too long ago, and at the end of the day, I become a little more prickly than I am in the morning, right? I don't know what that's about. It's probably I'm tired, and I'm getting older. So I went to this concert, and I walked into the place, and I obviously could not be armed. And I was in this place, and I knew that I was mixing with people that I didn't necessarily trust, based on the fact it's the public, and it was the type of concert it was. And I asked the guy, who wanded me, unnecessarily because I don't have a gun, right? I'm like, I don't have a knife, I don't have a gun. And the guy looks at me, I said, oh, do you have armed security here? No, I said, no, do you have a police officer in the building? And he's like, yeah, we do right over there. I said, how many of them is there? There's only one. I said, how many people are you gonna have in here tonight? And they said like 10,000 people. I was like, so you got one cop for 10,000 people.
Sounds like a good ratio to me. What could go wrong?
Well, we could talk about law enforcement marksmanship all day long, but I just found that I found myself falling down a hole, and my wife dragged me out. She goes, "Come on, let's go listen to this concert." And I was like, "Okay, babe, you're right." But that's just one of those things that I find myself. Do you find yourself uncomfortable like that too, where you'll have to kind of depend on other people to take care of business at first until you can get to something that was dropped on the ground?
absolutely, yeah. I find it being well. I mean, naturally, I wouldn't say that I'm a control freak, but I like to be in control, especially when it comes to myself, my family, and the people immediately surrounding me.
Right.
Especially in any kind of a adverse or high stress situation.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm absolutely uncomfortable in situations like that. I've got a funny story about a concert too.
Lay it on me, man.
I made it to the line, and we're giving tickets, and my wife looks at me and she goes, "You still have your pistol on you, don't you?" "Yes, I do." She's like, I was like, "Maybe I can get in." She goes, "They're literally, you have to walk through a metal detector to get in the concert." I was like, "We can try it." And she's like, "Just go put the pistol back in the car. Let's go listen." Same thing. Let's go listen to the concert. Put your pistol back in the car. But yeah, I'm absolutely uncomfortable in situations like that where I have to depend on other people, pending who those people are.
For sure.
You know.
Yeah, I think, and I think another thing is that unfairly, I will find a person who's armed and I'll look at their holster and I say, can I defeat that without them knowing? Because in case something does go wrong and they can't get the job done, I need to get that gun out and go to work.
That's a resource.
It's a loot drop.
Yeah, exactly.
I just learned that from these gamers, man.
Battlefield pickup, right? Yeah.
The gamers taught me what a loot drop is. I was like, really? That's cool. I've been a loot drop for a long time. I didn't even know. Right on. That's cool. So, I mean, okay, there's an uptick in this area, and I'm sure everywhere in the planet where these predators are watching the least proficient parts of our society, whether it be females with their daughters. Now, here's what's happening in Wichita. Several of these ladies have been followed around by a creep. Now, the person, and one of them was filming her, and then she didn't know what to do, so she just packed her stuff up and left, right? It's a rehearsal for an actual event, in my opinion. They might be harmless, right? They may just be pervs and want to try to catch somebody bent over. But it feels like a rehearsal to me. So what I've been telling these ladies to do is just get loud and take a picture of them.
Yeah, there you go.
And I guarantee you, if you get loud and take a picture of somebody, they get the message. And would it deter them later? Maybe. Or is it going to be to the point where enough people can make that person uncomfortable that they do something about it? And Wichita is such a small city that I find that the amount of things that happen here are a little abnormal, but I think maybe because we're on the I-35 corridor and there's a lot of crime that goes border to border on here. And we have to be cognizant of that, of where we're at all the time. I feel pretty foolish if I find myself somewhere without a pistol.
Yeah. It's I'm in a little bit of a unique situation where I am geographically, being up in Pennsylvania, where I am. I'm 10 minutes from the New Jersey border. I'm about an hour and 10 minutes from the Maryland border, and I'm about 2 hours from the New York border. In all three of those bordering states, if you're following the rules, you can't concealed carry into any of those states.
Yep.
And so it becomes a constant game of, where do I have to go today? Am I visiting an account in a state where I've got to be cognizant of what I have on me? And even like Center City, Philadelphia, going down into a major metropolitan area, just being cognizant of that and figuring out what does my loadout for the day look like? What do I need, and how can I make sure that I'm not going to get myself into hot water with something, just trying to be aware and cognizant of that.
Pretty awesome. Johnny, wife? I know you talked. You said you had one of those.
Right.
Children?
Have two.
Right on.
Boy and a girl.
Right on. Do they shoot, or are they still young yet?
They do. So my son's 15. My daughter's 13.
Okay.
They both. My daughter, she'll come down. We have a range behind the house.
Okay.
So she'll come down and shoot with me when I'm either testing some guns or prepping for a 3-gun match or whatever. She'll come down occasionally and she'll shoot. Now she does have a little 223 bolt gun that she likes to deer hunt with.
Nice.
So, but yeah, she'll come down and shoot that every once in a while. My son's huge into baseball, which is a proud dad moment. I was a baseball player, so
cool.
But when he was, I believe, 9, he started coming out with me. I shoot USPSA sometimes, but it's mostly just to like work on pistol skills or kind of bring me back in instead of just putting 2 on paper and that outlaw 3-gun stuff to kind of getting back into the A zone a little bit.
Keep you honest.
Yeah, keep me honest. But when he was about 9, he started shooting USPSA. We built him a PCC and he started shooting PCC.
Everything.
And he did it for a number of years, and then, well, he's in high school now, so now it's baseball, and girls are a big part of his life. So
You'll find he'll probably drift back just like we did. He'll drift back into that. I mean, I can remember I almost like the best times of my life where I could smell gunpowder burning. Right.
Amen.
Whether it be on a range or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why I have the job I have now is because of that very same thing. I wanted to do in the last part of my career before I retire. I wanted to find myself a place where I can hear the sound of freedom in the background everywhere I go, right? So that's good news. And my kids shot at age 10 and 11, 12, and they're both excellent marksmen. One's a former Marine, and the other one is a civilian and running a few businesses in Northwest, so I'm pretty excited about that. I have 4 grandchildren on one side and another 3 on the other side. So being a grandpa, neither one of you are grandfathers yet, right?
No.
That you know of.
Yeah. That would take some serious math, but yeah.
But I will tell you that as you go down this road, and the most rewarding thing ever is to be called grandfather. It really is. And man, you can, like we saw last night at the RNC, where the kids really congealed around their grandpa. And you don't see, when you think of that guy, you don't see him as a grandfather. You see him as some business guy, and he's really gruff. But you can see in his face that them kids really mean a lot to him, and that's the best ever.
I think that's part of the problem these days is we've lost the ability to see people as people in a lot of ways, and especially when you talk about the political landscape, we've dehumanized so much of it that they're just these entities now. And then I think, like you said, what was said at the RNC last night was kind of hit home, that everybody up on these stages and in these public spotlights are somebody's father, grandfather, mom, aunt, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. And they've all got families of their own too, and dealing with the same challenges that we all are. Yeah.
It's nuts. I remember one time I was using my outside voice on someone, and they earned it, right? And then at the end of it, I turned around and my grandson was standing there, and he had to look on his face like, what just happened? And I was like, oh. should not have done that. So I had a long talk with him, and he's like, "Oh, I understand why you did that." He was like 7, right? He goes, "If I misbehaved, you'd yell at me too." I said, "Have I ever yelled at you?" He's like, "No." I said, "I'll never yell at you because you're my grandson. Now your dad, I used to yell at him a lot."
And that's why he yells at you for me. Yeah.
So when you become a grandfather, it'll be one of the best times of your life.
Oh, I bet.
It will be.
I bet.
And you'll be broke.
Yeah.
Okay? 8 grandchildren will break you. So, but that's the best part of that thing. So what about you? Children, wife?
Married. Yep, married. No kids yet. We
kids.
just got married actually back this past
You know
January.
how to do it, right? I mean, you know how to make them.
Can you draw me a picture?
I will.
Thank you.
I got a video.
Thank you.
I can
Maybe
show
a
you
little
later.
step by step.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You don't have cable TV, just turn it off.
Okay.
Kids will come like right after that.
Perfect. That I think that's a mistake I've been making.
Or deploy for a while and come back. And then
That
kids come
works
right.
like a charm.
But yeah, so no, we actually got married back in January. It
Good.
was fantastic. That was a fun process, getting married a week and a half before SHOT Show. Not,
So you
not
didn't do
the
it like
best idea.
at SHOT Show. Just might as well do it while you're there.
Yeah, exactly. We're planning a wedding and planning an entire SHOT Show booth at the same time. I don't recommend doing that to anybody. But no, it's been great. And she was not a big firearms person coming into the relationship. Her dad had taken her shooting when she was younger, but it was never like a big part of her life. But to her credit, she said, "Yep, I'll go try it again. I'll see what this is all about." And I made the mistake of letting her spend a little bit of time on my 3-gun rifle.
Now you don't have a 3-gun rifle.
Now I don't have a 3-gun rifle. Well, and actually, beyond that, we've built her one that is basically a clone of that. But the problem is I let her taste the champagne too early. And so now she has very expensive taste in firearms, and she wants the custom built, all the tuned gas systems and custom buffer and recoil systems and stuff.
Is that any surprise to you, Dave?
No, it's not. I should have known better.
You know why it shouldn't surprise you? Because she chose you too.
Oh, I like
and
that.
you're the champagne of all the Daves I know.
There we go.
Well-
You must not know many days, but yeah,
Well, I think you might be the cold duck of all the champagnes I know.
that's fair. I'll be the Colt 45 for you.
Well, I don't know. So tell me stuff that people don't know about the company or the gun or anything. So, tell me something that's so unique about this firearm that that people need to know while watching this podcast.
Goodness, that's tough. That nobody knows, right? There's a lot of very unique things going on, right?
There's like, okay, so I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
When I said, you guys are coming, people are like, who?
Yeah.
So tell those people who said who, what they need to know about this.
Well,
gun.
that's easy then. Yeah. So this is the OA Defense OA 2311 platform. It is a hybrid between a duty gun and a race gun, and so you're getting the best of both worlds and very few of the pain points of either. So, our slogan, our tagline for this is duty gun reliability with race gun DNA, and we've worked very, very hard to deliver on both of those. It runs on the P320 magazine pattern, so you've got right out of the gate a more reliable, cost-effective, readily available magazine.
Yep.
You've got a full system of patented debris clearance channels inside the action of the pistol that gives you a lot of extra forgiveness and room for particulate, dirt, grime, dust to actually evacuate from the system before it causes any kind of malfunctions or stoppages, which used to be a major pain point historically on 1911 platforms.
Yeah, the mags or the ability to keep grime on board.
Both, exactly. So, kind of solving those problems was a big piece of it. The modularity, which we touched on, right? The ability to adapt it to various mission sets or applications is really convenient. And just the fact that it's completely optics ready, completely ambidextrous out of the box. It's very, very simple to transition into this platform if you're coming from a lot of other duty guns. So, typically that jump from going from a striker fired duty gun up to a hammer-fired race gun, there was a lot of relearning you had to do. Different gunsmithing techniques, different maintenance schedules, different things to watch for, troubleshooting, different takedowns in service. On these, we're really pushing for it's a tool-free takedown. It's a linkless barrel, so you don't have to worry about realigning that like you have to do with most 1911s.
That's a shame. That's always been did I get it?
You're going to miss that, right? Yeah, just like you're going to miss having to tune an internal extractor, right?
Not gonna
That's
miss
gone, yeah. So, it really, what makes this so unique is not so much what they are, but what they aren't. And what they aren't are a lot of the pain points of some of these different platforms that we've been able to eliminate through the development process. So,
Fantastic.
who are we? Who is OA Defense? We've kind of touched on that, but we are a family of avid shooters and gun people and prior military and law enforcement and competition shooters, and we believe in all the decisions that we make are driven by the 3 Fs, our core beliefs, which are faith, family, and freedom. And we kind of ask ourselves every day: Are we doing right by that? Are we? Is that what's driving our decision-making process?
Fantastic.
Does profit matter to keep the lights on? Sure, but at the end of the day, that's not the driving decision maker for us. Yeah.
What about, so one of the things I learned about this weapon system yesterday, I heard one of my employees that you trained talking to another guy about why this gun's cool.
Right on. Gotta love that.
And what he said to his coworker was, I love the fact that all the mounting plates are in the bag with the gun.
Sure.
And because these guys in the gun store, they sell a gun, and now we got to find a mounting plate. There's no way in a gun store you can have them all.
Yeah, you can't stock all of them, right? And then everybody gets upset when you tell them, hey, if you want to actually use this thing the way it's intended to be used, you're going to have to spend another couple $100 on mags. You have to spend another $100 to $200 on an optic plate. If you need a different height front sight because now your plate's not co-witnessing right with your optics. So, we definitely decided we're going to take that pain point out as well. We're going to eliminate that for customers and make it easy. So, like you said, they do. All of our models, from the base models up to the flagship models, all ship with all the primary optic plates that you need for the vast majority of optics on the market. There's a couple of outliers, the SROs, the RMR HDs that have the protruding front hoods on them, but we do offer plates for those as well. They're available on the website. You can order them. Some of our dealers carry them. But
cool.
RMR, RMSC, Holosun K, and the Delta Point footprint plates all come with it, as well as the different height front sights that you need to set up a proper co-witness with every one of those respectively. So.
Dang, I didn't know about the front sight. I just knew about the plates.
And they're all night vision tritium night sights right out of the box.
So made by Night Vision?
Yep, Night Vision. Yeah.
Great company.
Yep, they're fantastic guys.
Good people
really
behind
good
that
people.
too. Yeah. So you allied yourselves with some like-minded companies. That's great too.
Absolutely.
Wow. What about you, Johnny? You got something in that gun that we don't know about and we need to know?
I would say probably the modularity across all the models that we offer right now. If you're looking for a concealed carry, but maybe you don't run a red dot and you want the concealed carry with a longer sight radius, you can actually put the compact magwell on a full-size model. You have a 15-round mag capacity, but it makes it a little more concealable if you're appendix carrying or something, but you want that longer sight radius. Same thing with the compact model. You can run the full-size magwell or the compact magwell, so it'll give you a 17-round mag capacity or 15-round mag capacity, respectively. And then the other thing that I like about it on the competitive shooting side is the modularity with tuning the pistol versus whatever ammo that you're running. Like if I'm not shooting a ported or compensated gun and I want to shoot 130 power factor ammo, which is pretty light for the people that don't know that, but pretty light ammo, then I can run 2011 flat wire springs in that full-size model and tune it just the way that I want to. So,
damn, that's cool.
Yep.
Wow. So, man, it answers a lot of questions. So let's talk about adaptation. Do you have any police departments or any organizations that have adapted this firearm for use in their facilities?
In process, yeah. Okay. So with the fact that we've been building these and shipping them now for just under 12 months,
right?
And the gestation period for most law enforcement departments, federal agencies to onboard a new pistol platform is a very long, drawn-out process.
Yes, sir.
Now, since day one, since we had functional prototypes, we were partnering with departments, agencies, military units, getting these pistols out there to these end users and having them put them through their paces to find out what worked, what doesn't work, what do they like, what do they want to see differently. So, as it stands right now, I think we've got about 3 dozen different departments that have active T&E pistols in their fleet. In their fleet that they are running right now. Feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. There's a lot of departments who have basically said, we want to make a move to this. We want to bring these on. The major holdup right now is just the holsters. When you come out with a brand new pistol platform, it takes some time for the rest of the industry and the supporting companies for all the different ancillary accessories to catch up to that. And we've been, again, fortunate in that, through various industry partnerships and relationships that we have, all the major players in the holster world are already in development of dedicated level 3 duty holsters for the 2311 platform.
And you told me yesterday there was something cool going on next month in the holster situation in this firearm.
So without divulging or putting any evil on anybody that they're going to have to live up to, the word on the street is that one of the major holster manufacturers is going to have their prototypes ready next month for this. So keep an eye out for that, because that's going to close a lot of these loops that we've been waiting on. And it's going to make an awful lot of happy police officers and guys out there who have been waiting to be able to actually put these in a holster.
Do you see these guys that have a department that's a hack-it-pack-it type of policy in their department?
Yeah, for the most part.
So you have so there could be some cops out there carrying this gun in their holsters because
Yep.
their department's like, if you can qualify with it, you can carry it.
And there are a handful of guys out there right now who, as long as their department has an open enough policy where if you can qual with it and it meets certain criterias for minimum trigger weight and duty reliability and everything, that you can carry it as a patrol weapon. There are a handful of guys out there who have done that. They've reached out to us and they've said, hey, listen, I really love this pistol. I want to carry it on duty. Can you point me in the right direction for this kind of holster or these accessories and stuff like that? And so we've always been very open to helping them out with that. So yeah, there are a few of them that are being fielded right now.
Right on. Whiskey or beer?
Actually, I quit drinking a little over 10 years ago.
Keep the front sight on the mark. Okay, cool. There's no harm in that. There's more for us.
Absolutely.
So
I'm more than happy to sit here and watch you guys drink it too.
okay. What about you? I think you're a bourbon guy, right?
Yeah, whiskey.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Well, that tells me a lot I need to know about you. Right? All right. I'll ask you another one. Churchill or Maduro cigar? I know you like to smoke cigars, or have. Maduro, something a little darker, right? A little more robust.
Yep.
Yeah. Very cool. Very nice. What about you?
Maduro's in the evening, Churchill's on the golf course.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love to get cigar high on the golf course, so I smoke the darkest daggone stick I can find.
See, I'm terrible enough at golf to begin with. I can't afford to impair anything there.
It ends
So
up being riding a golf cart.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I dig it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Okay, so each one of you, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Tell me one thing that you want to end this conversation with.
Honestly, for me, is just to share some gratitude with the entire industry and the community, and with Rainier. Honestly, you guys have been a great partner for us since the very beginning. You were one of the first distributors and dealers to kind of back this project, to believe in it, and say, yeah, this is a new brand, but we're going to take a chance on it. We want to carry you guys. We want to help you spread the word about it. So, major gratitude and sincere thank you to you guys for that, and then to the industry and the community at large, because when we started this whole project, it's easy to always think, oh, we've got a great idea, right? And when the reality sets in, and when you share it with the entire world, that's when you find out, were we out of our minds, or do we have something here? And the community and the industry has been very, very receptive, and the feedback that we've gotten from everybody, and everybody being kind of willing to give us an opportunity to establish ourselves and to show the world what it is that we've developed, and to give us a chance to put our money where our mouth is. It's something that you don't have the luxury of getting that every day. And so, again, just a sincere thank you to everybody who was an early adopter of the platform, who believed in us and in the product and the platform, and thank you. Yeah.
Johnny, you're up.
I think, ditto what he said. But no, I just want to add, vote Trump. No, but yes, do. So the other thing is, just to everybody out there, make sure you exercise your Second Amendment rights. Right, the more people that we have out there that are buying firearms, being responsible with firearms, and responsible gun owners, then the less impact that politicians have on our rights to carry. So, just get out there and support your Second Amendment rights and vote.
Okay, so that I wasn't going to talk about this, but I'm going to now that you brought it up.
Awesome.
Firearms owners have to go to the polls.
100%.
I don't care who you vote for, just go to the polls.
Yeah.
And we don't, and it burns my ass.
The complacency and the level to which we've all just kind of gotten defeated. Apathy, thank you, is exactly what we need to combat right now.
So I was fortunate enough to see Donald Trump speak at the NRA. I wasn't going to do it, but my wife insisted. She's like the catalyst of all good things in my life now.
It's weird how they do that sometimes,
and she didn't
right?
pay me to say that. But he said if all NRA members voted, be a landslide victory for the Republican Party. Just NRA members, not necessarily gun owners. If the gun owner knew what jeopardy our deep state, deep state's not the right word. I'm not a tinfoil hat wearer like that. The federal bureaucracy has put on gun stores.
Yeah.
The amount of pressure that puts on us to be exactly perfect with things. If the rank and file citizen knew about that, there'd be a rebellion against that, because we were during COVID, we were necessary, right? We had to stay open, but yet after that fact, you're going to crawl up our tails with a microscope and tell us we didn't dot this I or cross that T. It's pretty horrible. Yeah. Well, there's humans behind all of it. actually humans doing the inspection that we have to endure, and they don't get it right. But man,
it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. But yeah.
And the more that we allow them to do that, the less of us it'll be around to supply these commodities to people to ensure their freedom.
Yeah.
There's a reason why those dudes put it in the Bill of Rights. They were worried because governments they had dealt with in the past had disarmed their citizens and then made them subjects, right? I'll be damned if that happens to us.
Yeah. 250 years ago, they knew something that we're still learning today.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and wow, it's amazing that those documents have existed for as long as they have. It's because people like us insist upon it.
Yeah. No matter
And
how
people
hard
like
other people might
him
try to get rid of them.
defends our way of life daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. And the people that are in the legion behind you, that'll come along behind you, because you came along behind me. And my son came along behind me, and I came along behind my father, right?
There you go.
So our legion continues to march. And our legion continues to be the beacon of freedom in this world. Now I'm going to get off the soapbox. Because it's Friday and it's time to find a barbecue place to eat.
Yeah, but the view from up there is not bad, right?
No, it's not. It's not. But you can skyline yourself.
Exactly. There you go.
So you can be a sniper target, no problem.
Look out for the sloped roofs.
Yeah. That was probably the weakest thing I've ever heard. The weakest. Now, my kids have given me some strange excuses before, but there's never been that weak. So I want to thank each of you for being here with us today. I know coming to Wichita is not easy sometimes, right? But once you get here, it's a great town, and you might want to live here someday.
Oh, it's been fantastic. We thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you
it's
for
my
having us.
pleasure. Once again, thank you so much.
absolutely.
I
Thank you.
appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
I really do.
Yeah.
So we're going to end this up. I'm sure we could talk another 2 or 3 hours, and we probably will over some bourbon and cigars, or maybe just cigars. But tune in to Over the Barrel. This is going to be up in a very short period of time. Every first Friday of the month, you're going to get a new episode with some insights into a different company out there in the world that you might not know anything about. So thanks again. I really appreciate it, and happy Friday.